What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be reviewing the most recent fan mock draft for Hail Mary Sports' Discord. So if you guys are new, would love for you guys to stick around. I'd want you guys to contribute in this next time as well. So you got to join the Discord for that. We have sign-up sheets for you guys to be able to do that. So always DM me. Feel free to just ask anybody in there. We have over 440 members now, which is absolutely ridiculous because about a month and a half ago, we were down at like 120. So huge boom there. We do stuff over there like these fan mock drafts, as well as all 22 tape studies that you can't do here on YouTube. So you're the only one missing out because of the fact that it's perfectly free. I don't charge for it. And I spend a lot of time over there with you guys. And, you know, I don't get paid for it. I just love hanging out with you guys. It just makes the job so much more entertaining. So would love for you guys to join us over there. And remember, if you don't like anything about this mock draft, I hate to say it, but it's your own fault because you weren't there to make the pick. So the only way we can change this next time is if you're the one who's doing it. So again, you can only blame yourself for not doing it, and we have plenty more to come because this honestly ended way better than I ever expected. So yeah. I mean, it worked like a dream. So I'm very grateful for that. Very grateful for you guys as always. Let's get right into this. This is the only style I will ever do like this where I scroll because I think it's pretty lazy work. But NFL Mock Draft Database updates consistently, which it's honestly quite nice. It's a nice breath of fresh air. But, you know, you can't replicate it because they switch up the second round and stuff. And then you guys will see what I mean. I wanted to replicate this on PFF, and the draft order wasn't the same, so I'm not going to BS you guys and say, oh, well, we're going to take it in the exact same order each time. You guys will get what I'm saying. Let's jump right into this and have a good time. You guys obviously see the first few picks. I'll give you guys my feedback on every single one of them because, you know what, I wasn't the one to make it, so, you know, it's not based off of my pure logic. But Bryce Young was the number one overall pick. To me, he's still QB1. Where you can actually do a tape study with CJ Stroud, especially when the All-22 comes out. So you guys got to stick around for that. We should probably be doing Will Anderson tonight, so would kind of like to have you guys there. And it might not be tonight, it might be this week, but we're definitely doing it. That the next time that we're doing it, it's going to be Will Anderson, and I want you guys there. So you guys get to see it because he's number one on my board, and, you know, watching him and potentially shifting my opinion seems to be something that is a very possible outcome. So would love for you guys to be there to witness it with me. But yeah, Bryce Young, to me, still the best quarterback in the class. His size, a huge concern. However, just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean it can't happen. It reduces the possibility because there's no history to back it up, but it doesn't rule it out. And yes, there's guys like Doug Flutie and stuff that were smaller dudes, but at the same time, it does not mean that Bryce Young can't work. And I'm pretty sure Doug Flutie was the short one. I'm tripping right now. I digress. But yes, short quarterbacks have worked in the NFL. Recently, we're seeing these bigger guys with the more higher ceilings being the ones who succeed. But again, doesn't mean, just because it's a trend doesn't mean it's the rule. And I think Bryce Young's processor is top tier. I love him to death. He's a really damn good player. I think he'd be a great fit for the Texans. His playstyle is very similar to Deshaun Watson, who had a very good career there. Outside of football stuff aside, I think Bryce Young, his playstyle would fit very well, and then he's actually going to have a pretty damn good career, especially if he goes here to Houston. Pick number 2, the Bears going Jalen Carter. This is a really deep edge class, so I honestly think you can get a very comparable player to Will Anderson, like with a rough first, like a late first round grade in most drafts. They're in the later second, and that's a brilliant and beautiful thing about this draft class is that a lot of these edges are declaring and coming out, even though the class is extremely stacked at that position. Maybe not the best business decision because next year is a little bit lighter, but doesn't really matter because you know what? We get to enjoy it, right? So I think that going Jalen Carter is the best business decision. There's some good interior defensive linemen in this class, but there's nobody that can remotely compare to Jalen Carter's ceiling, and I think that it's the best move for the Bears. You're not one player away. You're a lot of them, and you might as well start trying to hit on those guys who could be the cornerstone of your team in 5 years, rather than the guys who will make immediate impact right away. And Jalen Carter could still do that, but he's definitely going to be that guy who could be the identity, the face of your franchise, at least for the defense. So, great pick right there. I love that. Will Anderson, obviously it's the leftovers of this pick to see what Seattle gets. I think some people are going to say CJ Stroud. I personally would wait. I think that they're going to be bringing Geno back for one more year. His ascension has been awesome to see. Maybe it hasn't gotten him over the hump, but Also, when you get a talent like Will Anderson, I don't think you really pass on it unless we watch the tape and realize Will Anderson's not that good. You never know. You can be there to watch it with me, but until you guys do that, we'll just have to wait and see. Myles Murphy here at pick 4. Obviously, I think cornerback should be on the board for you guys. I think that's a pretty smart decision. But Myles Murphy, he's super consistent. He's very good against the run. He's one of the more polished run defenders that I've studied. Just big guy. He's making opportunities for other people. And I think that's just a super safe, comfortable pick, especially if they have a new regime. This is the most likely pick because corners, they can bust out. I just don't think you can really miss out on Myles Murphy. I think that he could end up being, we drafted him around too early, but it's just so hard to believe in him as being complete butt cheeks. And, I definitely don't think that, I think his ceiling is more attainable than his floor. And his floor is still really damn good. Really damn good player. I love Myles Murphy. He's not going to be the flashy guy like Will Anderson. And I comp both of these guys, Will Anderson, Myles Murphy, to what we had in the past draft where Will Anderson similar to KT, Myles Murphy more similar to Aiden Hutchinson. And, I think that's a very similar route. Now, KT is shown to be an extremely talented player, maybe potentially better than Hutchinson. I don't think we have to say one is better than the other. I just personally like to appreciate both. And, I don't think you need to complain about getting one guy or the other. Just be happy with the fact that you have them. And I think this class is very similar in that regard. More of the splashy player, more of the consistent. And at the end of the day, big plays make big differences, and so do consistent players. So either way, you're going to be very happy. I'm perfectly fine with this pick. Pick number 5, CJ Stroud for the Colts. It's that or Will Levis. I think after the game versus Georgia, CJ is going to be the guy. Just feels like that's going to be the right move. Irsay wants a young quarterback. This is going to be his perfect position to do so. Keely Ringo, again, if the order's off, it's because this was on Sunday while the games were happening. So, yes, the draft order is as of Sunday before the games happened. Keely Ringo, I'm not a huge fan of Keely Ringo myself. I think that he has a lot of holes in his game. He is still a first-round pick. You guys see him right there at number 17 on my board. You guys get to see my board, by the way. This is my board. And y'all going to be thinking I'm crazy for number 2 on my board. But, again, if you guys don't like something on it, come to the Discord and ask me. I'm more than happy to show you. I don't care about being right. That's the simple truth. I don't care about being right with my board. I want to be honest and show you guys the truth. And if my truth right now is wrong, I'm fine with saying that I'm wrong. Good football and giving you guys accurate descriptions of players based off of what I've seen is all what I'm about. And I do not care about stigmas or anything like that. I want to be unapologetically original. I want to show you guys somebody who I'm passionate about, but I'm also willing to back it up and show you guys myself. We have a lot of people in the Discord who have been converted to Isaiah McGuire truthers, and I think you would too. So again, before you start getting on my ass about that, feel free to come ask me because, if you're going to say that you're going to try to criticize me without trying to come to the Discord and see for yourself, I'm just going to be honest, that's kind of arrogance. So I would love for you guys to spend that time with me. I digress. But yeah, Keely Ringo, I still have him here in the first round, and he'll probably drop a little bit. He's built for a cover 3 or cover 4. I want him deep. He has the frame, he has the ball skills, and he has the athleticism. To me, that's perfect. But his short, I believe, he's a little bit tight in the hips, and that's why he gives up a lot of short routes. And, he got cooked a lot. He did. He does get cooked. And the thing is, you won't really cook him deep because of that athleticism, unless you're Marvin Harrison Jr. But Keely Ringo is built for a team where your corners are not going to be in short-range scenarios. I want him to cover deep because you are not going to be able to outrun Keely Ringo. His deep presence is unbelievable. So a team like the Falcons, him as a corner too, I'm not going to be mad at all. So I would not be shaming this pick. Really high for me, but again, I would still give this like a B- if it happened in the real draft. A damn good player. Joey Porter's my favorite fit for the Lions, no matter where they are. Even if they're at 4, I still would probably want to go Joey Porter Jr. But obviously, above that's Jalen Carter, Will Anderson. Joey Porter's such a good player. I love him to death. He's my number 3 player in the draft. You guys get to see it right there. But I'll scroll down a little bit so you guys get to see a little bit more on my board in the meantime. Will Levis here at number 8. You got to get a new quarterback. I know that my boy Big Jordan's going to absolutely lose his mind over Will Levis. It's one player that he doesn't want. So shout out to him because he's been a very consistent commenter. Love my Panthers fans for giving me feedback. Even though I have a feeling this is going to be a quick little trend of us seeing how, Will Levis is going to continue falling rather than seeing Will Levis go at number 5. So it is what it is. But Will Levis, I think that he's a pretty damn good quarterback. There is a stat out there. He's played 7 SEC games, hasn't thrown over 230 yards in any of them. I do think that's a concern. Now, you guys will see, this is not updated. This is not updated for CJ Stroud's game because I am not going to update it until I've seen the full tape in all 22. I'm not going to bullshit you guys. I'm not going to artificially raise players because of the fact that, I saw some game tape. That's really not me, especially in the quarterback realm. But CJ is going to be higher than Will Levis. I know that for a fact. So for the people who are just about to come and rip me a new one for CJ, I just say pause. Just pause for the time being. It's not up to date. But Will Levis is about 27 or 28 on my board. Not saying he's a great player, but he has very translatable tape. Not great offensive line play. Not very much separation from his receivers either. So he plays very well under pressure compared to some other quarterbacks in this class. I think that's perfectly fine to take him at 8. But again, I'm not saying that he's a home run hit either. Peter Skoronski at number 9 definitely feels like a Raiders type of player. Very gritty, someone who I would be consistently trying to get for the Raiders if there weren't guys like Christian Gonzalez on the board. So I prefer going after a corner, but I also know the depth of the corner in this class is much better than the tackles. And I know Skoronski could play guard. I think that this team honestly has spots at guard too. So you're going to be hitting a home run in a 5 to 10 year to 15 year starter with Peter Skoronski anyways. I'm perfectly fine with this pick, and it's a nice little change of pace from what I normally do. Eagles, Christian Gonzalez. He does fit. Corner 2 is definitely a concern, but some part of me just doesn't really think Christian Gonzalez is going to work on the Eagles. I don't know why. I can't feel it. I can't feel the Eagle-ness to Christian Gonzalez. So, it is what it is. Joey Porter Jr. is my dream for the Eagles or the Steelers. Those are my 2 favorite spots for him, not named the Lions. So those are my big 3. Those are my big 3 teams I would love to take him to. But I don't know. There's something weird about that pick that just gives me the EBGBs, and I don't fully understand. Jordan Addison for the Texans, changing it up a little bit. I know that we talked about it on Discord. It was in a live chat, so you guys get to talk with me and get my feedback as well. But Jordan Addison over Quentin Johnston, to me, I'd rather go after the X receiver than somebody who's going to be replacing a role that I already have. Jordan Addison obviously would be the new Brandon Cooks of the team. To be fair, Brandon Cooks might be gone. But I think the best value is with Quentin Johnston. I still would give this pick a B+. And when it comes down to it, it's still a great player, great value. He makes football look just so easy and so simple. Smaller side for sure, but he's had great production given his role. So do like Jordan Addison a lot. Trent Simpson, I like Trent Simpson a lot. I'm waiting for all 22 tape to actually compare him apples to apples versus every other linebacker. But right now he's linebacker 3 for me. Still a phenomenal player, an amazing athlete. He's coming along with his processing for sure, and that's what I love to see because that was my big issue with him at the start of the year. 2021's tape just had a bit more of those head-scratching decisions like, hey, I can see that you're trying, but you really just need to process a little bit more before just going balls to the wall. I think a team where, Jordan Brooks just tore his ACL, just came out a couple minutes ago. I think Trenton Simpson would be a great guy to fill in until Jordan Brooks is back. And there's some great development that's happened on that team. Like, I certainly believe that the Seahawks could make Trenton Simpson into an all-star. So one of my favorite fits in the draft. Quentin Johnston to the Titans. I think he's going to run in the 4.4s. He's probably going to have a pretty damn good 3-cone, especially for a man who is 6'4". So being able to have that presence there alongside Treylon Burks, never a bad thing. I don't know who the quarterback is going to be, but there's a great spot for someone like Derek Carr to go to. So if you can get Derek Carr there and have Quentin Johnston, have Treylon Burks, you get those bigger receivers that you can trust, and then you have guys like Kyle Phillips there to play in the slot. So I think that's going to be a very well-rounded team, especially if you get offensive line, and then you also get Quentin Johnston. It just really depends on free agency. It really does, because this team needs like a couple key pieces at very valuable positions. But Quentin Johnston should be taken in this range. He definitely should be. You guys get to see where he is on my board as well. I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you guys get to see even more of my board. Again, not fully updated, but It's updated as of Saturday or like Friday. So, take it as you will. Jalen Jones. So the funny joke here, obviously the Patriots are looking for a corner. But Jalen Jones is one of my favorite players. He's actually right there at number 7. The joke was like, this is going to be a full backfield full of Joneses, right? You have Jack Jones. You also have Jonathan Jones, and now Jalen Jones. And the joke was they'll go up against the Jaguars, and it will be against Marvin Jones as well as I'm tripping up on the other Jones in the meantime. But like, there's just multiple Joneses on this team. So it would be kind of funny to see just attack of the Jones. But I personally would go after offensive tackle. I think it's the most valuable position outside of QB in the league. And it's something that's honestly has very low value or a very low supply of players who are actually adequate at doing their job. I just don't think that offensive line is good enough in the NFL when we're seeing this mass rush or this mass flood of edge rushers coming into the NFL, when we're seeing a very few amount of tackles really hit the floor running. And I really do think when you have guys like Broderick Jones, even Paris Johnson, who I'm lower on than most, on the board, you gotta go after him. You have to. I know Jalen Jones is a phenomenal player, but I trust Bill Belichick in the later rounds to snag a guy who can step in and play. So that's my take on it. I know that you could even go potentially a wide receiver here as well, but being able to solve the offensive line is just so perfect because it helps out in both phases of the offense, running the ball as well as passing. And most other positions, they usually are more heavily dominant in one than the other. So you're getting pretty much a 2-for-1 value, and you're helping out your quarterback and helping him stay healthy. To me, I just think offensive line is something that's totally overlooked nowadays. And you see a lot of these teams that are performing well, usually it's because the offensive line is protecting their QB, giving them time and allowing them to go through their reads, and also helping out the run game that way. I just think offensive line is so underappreciated. So let's continue on here. Paris Johnson is a great pick. I would rather go Broderick Jones, but I really don't care. Paris Johnson, a very versatile player, great athlete as well. Broderick Jones for the Steelers, it was the best player available, so I'm happy with that. JSN to the Packers. So I know that Brian Branch would be perfect and Tyree Wilson. Those are probably the more likely picks. This is a fan mock draft, so it's whatever you guys wanted to draft. And you went JSN. And if this does happen, I'm going to support it. You already have your big deep threat who already runs in the 4-3s in Christian Watson. So I don't think you necessarily need a burner. Jack Smith and Jigba, I think, will run in the high 4-5s. He got tracked down by Brandon Smith, who's 4-5-3. So you see it on game tape that he doesn't exactly have that extra gear that you're necessarily looking for, but he's a very smooth route runner. He's a very nice separator in space, but there are areas of his game that are missing, so he's more scheme specific, and I think he fits this very well. So I think there's rumors of him slipping out of the first, and if that's the case, if I'm Green Bay, I'm doing what I did last year and trading up to the end of the second or to the end of the first to make sure that I have my guy and be able to give Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love the best situation possible. Brian Branch here, I love the idea of this. If you didn't go a corner earlier, like you have Tyree Wilson on the board, I think that would have been the more valuable pick. But Brian Branch, I'm never going to decline an option to boost this secondary. I'm a huge fan of it. Then Osiris Torrance, boosting offensive line. I just talked about it. It's one of the few things that people don't talk about enough. It's the fact that good offensive lines usually produce more wins. Like, it's just better overall. It's the only position that I see that has so much value that rarely people talk about. And in this class, there's such a little, very, very few offensive linemen that are actually NFL starter quality that even though Osiris Torrance has some god-awful reps, is totally worth taking here at number 19 because of the very limited supply. There's no guarantee you're going to get an offensive lineman next round. Now, should you use free agency money for that so you get best value? Sure, but we can't project that right now. And with that, I think it's perfectly fine to say, let's go Osiris Torrance. He has a lot of potential, very good athlete. This is just a really bad guard class, so, especially reaching right here, it's a little bit out of the realm of where I would normally go with it if, we're a better guard class, but given the situation that we're in, even losing out on guys, why am I tripping on his name now? Christian Haynes out of UConn going back, that ripped my soul out of my heart. that type of stuff, it definitely boosts the demand for this guy because of the fact there's just so little supply. You got to take him earlier because there's just nothing in this draft in the guard class. It might be the worst I've ever seen. Tyree Wilson, it's just BPA here for the Bucks. I would definitely consider going after Bijan, but I know that Rachaad White's doing a good job there. My only thing is we see guys who do very good jobs very often kind of fall off a cliff within a year or two versus someone who could be generational like Bijan. Different story. Anthony Richardson was the pick here. The joke was Hendon Hooker. I vetoed it and just swapped the player for Anthony Richardson. High ceiling quarterback. I personally wouldn't have gone quarterback at all. I used to be fully on board with QB, but my QB1 of last year was Sam Howell. So, you guys have him. You got him in the 5th round. So I don't think that Anthony Richardson will be better than Sam Howell before Sam Howell's ready. So why would you need to pick him? Again, this team definitely is a QB away from being full-on Super Bowl contenders. But at that point, why not go Derek Carr? Why not go after a proven commodity that can bring his team success versus someone who's going to be a long-term project? And I like Anthony Richardson. Just, Michael Mayer for the Giants, I think it's perfectly fine. Nice, consistent target. I think Daniel Bellinger is good enough for me not to take someone like Michael Mayer here. You still have DBs like Cam Smith that I would have taken. Wide receivers like Kayshon Boutte that I would have taken. But if this happens, I'm still giving it a B-. It's perfectly fine. Cam Smith for the Chargers, I would love that, especially if J.C. Jackson gets his head and ass wired together. That is such a great mentor for a nice top-tier DB like Cam Smith. Kayshon Boutte for the Ravens. I'd want a bigger wide receiver for sure, but I'm not ever going to complain about Kayshon Boutte being available for the Ravens and being taken. You're just getting another super high ceiling wide receiver. So, my dream pick for them a couple years ago was Terrace Marshall, and now it's Kayshon. Well, actually, it ended up being Rashad Bateman, which is nice. But I wanted Terrace Marshall to this team, if not Rashad Bateman. Now Kayshon Boutte, pretty solid option. I'm very excited to see if he can go to this team. Probably not in the first, given the fact he was I'm going to return to school. But I think his talent is totally worth it. You guys get to see where he is on my board. But BJ Ojulari for the Broncos. So shout out to SEU Productions. He has his own YouTube channel. So I know that I don't need to plug him, but I'm going to do it anyways. Julian's a cool guy. You guys can check him out. But he was debating between my number 2 player in the class and BJ Ojulari, who is, my number 10. So never going to be mad about it. Both play different roles. Isaiah McGuire would be inside. BJ Ojulari more on the outside at 250. So really damn good edge rusher. And obviously this team is very, very good at developing defensive talent. And they have a very nice edge rushing duo as it is. So you're just making the rich get richer. Brian Breezy for the Cowboys. I think that his ceiling's totally worth it. This is a relatively good range for him to go, given the fact that he debated going back. And apparently the momentum is that he's going to return to school. That's because apparently the NFL doesn't like him. And I'm not a huge fan of him either. As you guys have seen, he's not anywhere near my top 32. He's not in my top 64. He's at number 80 on my board. So just not a huge fan of him. Just not. He is a good player. Again, 80 is still a good player. Just, it's tough for me to see the success. Jared Verse for the Bengals, just super high ceiling. And the thing is, you are technically playing defense against the Chiefs. I'd much prefer Anton Harrison here and play Jared Verse than take Jared Verse and play against Anton Harrison protecting Patrick Mahomes. Just because I know right tackle is a position where you definitely need to look at, and especially left tackle too. So, Anton's a beast. He's risen up to be my tackle too for sure. But Jared Verse, you'll never be mad at it. You'll never be mad at Jared Verse. He's such a good player too. Anton Harrison's the dream pick here for the Chiefs. Obviously, I love going offensive tackle for them. But, man, again, you guys have heard me say it enough. Offensive line is so crucial. Emmanuel Forbes for the Vikings. He's a damn good DB. I would prefer Devon Witherspoon at 6'1", but I think actually Emmanuel Forbes might be 6 foot, 6'1". Emmanuel Forbes just isn't getting the hype the way Devon Witherspoon is. Emmanuel Forbes is a nice pick 6 threat, really good player too. Tough to think of him as a first rounder, but definitely deserving of a lot of respect. Bills game Bijan. I honestly would have taken Bijan if I were the Vikings, just because I don't want to play him against the Bills or the Eagles. And then Bijan's just a stud too. But Bijan for the Bills, perfect scenario. Antonio Johnson for the Eagles, 2 DBs round 1. I can't hate it. I do like it, but I think there's better options. I think Isaiah McGuire would be a great choice. Again, getting that 275 or 265 plus pound edge rusher fits exactly what you guys look for there in Philadelphia. And Isaiah McGuire is just such a stud. I really do think he's going to be rising up draft boards, especially after the Senior Bowl. Again, you guys are going to tear me a new one because of where he is on my board. But please just join the Discord and ask me to show you, and I will literally pop in there and show you 1,000 different plays where he does a phenomenal job and it's warranting of the love I give him. But yeah, Antonio Johnson's still a phenomenal player. The safety work there in Philadelphia still could definitely be improved. Starting out the second round, I know NFL Mock Draft Database still hasn't really accounted for this not being that, or this being the start of the second. But Isaiah McGuire, this team does need edge rushing help, so I'm very glad to see that we were able to make that pick. So continuing it, Devon Witherspoon. I love it for the Steelers. I really do. We need DBs, so getting Devon Witherspoon, never a bad thing. So this was a crazy one. Deuce Vaughn. And I say this lightly. Prepare for you guys to lose your mind. I have Deuce as my RB1. And the reasoning is, well, he's totally different from Bijan. I think Bijan has his own role as a 3-down back for the next 15 years. Deuce is going to be someone you have maybe 5 to 10 years. But he's electric. He's the best 5'6" man that I have ever seen at the running back position. Yes, I didn't study Darren Sproles in college, so I think Darren Sproles also went to K-State, but this guy is unbelievable. His offensive line is absolute cheeks. He's able to make plays out of nothing, and his quarterback essentially is a glorified running back with an arm. So the defense already stacks the box enough as it is, and this guy still makes plays. I love him. I love him to death. So Deuce Vaughn, well deserving of respect. But again, we're not trying to shame other running backs. There's still really good ones in this class. I think Deuce in his right role is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I think this is going to be like a 4th round pick. But if it is for the Cardinals, at least Kyler Murray looks a little taller. So you can look at it as that. J.L. Skinner is a great pick for the Seahawks. Maybe not at pick 35, but this is a very, very thin, like bare bones safety class as well. So you are kind of scraping the barrel. And just like the guards, you have to draft them earlier than you probably would like to because you're screwed if you don't. And I think J.L. Skinner can play linebacker too. So that'd be kind of freaky to see him, Cody Barton, Jordan Brooks, and Trenton Simpson. That'd be a pretty interesting linebacker / safety set. But Cody Mock was the pick here for the Colts. I think that there were better offensive tackles on the board, and Cody Mock definitely has that big upside, but I don't know if he's going to be much of an improvement over Bernard Ryman. I don't know that. But because Cody Mock's play style isn't very translatable to the NFL. Very mobile, but he never blocks the first guy. Really weird. I talk about it every time I talk about him, but just somebody where you watch him like, it's not his fault. It's just, I have no idea what the hell you're going to do when you face against an edge rusher when all you are doing is blocking linebackers and safeties. So it's a little tough to get on board with the Cody Mock train, even though I really like him as a player, because of the fact I just don't know how he's going to perform in the NFL. The Rams try to trade 2 firsts and a second for an edge rusher, so I think going after Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who is my number, 13 player now in the draft, not a bad thing at all. Of course, I want to go offensive line, but that's a pretty damn close second. To continue the Georgia theme, Nolan Smith is such a great player. The amount of sacks that the Falcons have so far, I think, are 23 less than the next lowest team over the past 2 years. So getting edge rushing help, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Andre Carter for the Raiders, a super high ceiling edge rusher, great guy to learn from someone like Max Crosby as well as Chandler Jones. I love it. I love it. I definitely think that I would love to look at corners, linebackers, but you're never going to complain about Andre Carter. Such a good player. Tommy Eichenberg, somebody who is, I believe, my linebacker number 2 in the class. He's just such an awesome player. And we saw him for the first time. We actually did a tape study with him on the Discord. So again, you guys got to be there because you guys get to watch him with me and experience it live. So then when I talk about it here, you guys are like, wait, I was there. So it's pretty cool stuff. I love talking to you guys about it too. So yeah, really good player, just BPA. I think Jalen Hyatt would be a pretty fun option here as well, adding another receiver, but Tommy Eichenberg, never an issue for me. Good guy to be able to replace Demario Davis in the long run. Jalen Hyatt is just too good to pass on here, so I did love that pick for the Brownies. Isaiah Foskey, I'm not a fan of him, but this seems realistic value, so I'm not going to shame it. I do think edge rusher should be a position at least the Panthers should look at, and it's a position I definitely like to go. Pick number 43, Drew Sanders for a very injury-prone Titans linebacking core. I'm not going to shame it. I'm not. It is what it is, but Drew Sanders is my linebacker 1 at the moment, so amazing value. I just think that the Titans do their best work in the 3rd round when it comes to linebackers, but really I'm not going to shame them for taking a linebacker here. Although I will say there are still tackles like Darnell Wright on the board, so that would be my pick number 1. But Drew Sanders, not too shabby. Rashee Rice, my buddy here at SMU, pony up. I do go to SMU, and I just know Raw doesn't like anything below like 45 degrees Fahrenheit, so this is going to be very fun to see his Snapchat stories when he's in like negative 45, but, you know, he has work ethic. I just think that SMU's culture has just kind of tainted that. We pay all of our players like $31,000 a year. We have all these promotional videos where you're getting into like a Mustang. I think it's a Shelby actually, like a blue Shelby, and you're taking videos like looking like a badass. And you know, and great job to our video team for doing that. But like it seems to get into the players' minds that they're superstars when they really aren't. Like you guys are trying to work to that, and you see guys take plays off a lot. I see Raw jogging on routes a lot. So, I mean, I should know. I'm here in person, right? So I watched all the games. There's a lot of plays that I feel like Raw could have made even more of, even though he made plenty of them. But yeah, I mean, I think that Bill Belichick can kind of grind that out of him. He'd still be a great player, but I'm just not on round 2 yet because of the fact that I know what I see with my eyes. Garrett Williams out of Syracuse to the Jets. It's just BPA at this point. I don't think that's a bad pick at all, especially since we went offensive line round 1. Guys out of Syracuse definitely are totally worth taking because they also have safety versatility. This comment right here has nothing to do with the actual pick. I was actually trying to get someone to take him earlier because I was sharing this, and then somebody, I think it was probably right here, they went Drew Sanders or something, and I just typed WTF. So it has nothing to do with this pick specifically, but I'll get back to that in a second. Steelers, Andrew Voorhees, I love it. Day 1 starter, and it's an upgrade over Kevin Dotson. I'm never going to shame any Steelers fan for taking offensive line. Darnell Wright is a perfect pick for the Packers. Yeah, WTF that he wasn't taken earlier, but really damn good player, and definitely well-deserving of the 47th pick. Mozzie Smith, yes, I also was communicating for the person picking to do it, and keeping more Michigan players there. In Michigan, super high ceiling, very good motor. Definitely somebody that you want to have on that defensive interior. Josh Downs, I think this is an okay pick. I'm not that high on Josh Downs. I think he's kind of a worse but younger version of Calvin Austin. So in a couple of years' time, I think he could be much better than Calvin, because Calvin was a redshirt senior when he came out. Josh Downs is a true junior. So I think this potential is higher. But I just don't really know how he's going to do more than D. Eskridge for this team. I just don't. But it is what it is. Still a damn good player. Hendon Hooker, it's good enough value, so I'm not going to complain about it. This one is not Yaya Diaby. We did this because it was funny. Out of like 700 players, my number 40 player in the draft was not on there, and it's Jazon Newton. This team the Jaguars are still looking for somebody to just man the middle, and Jazon Newton's an absolute freak. He deserves to be a second, if not first round pick. No one's talking about him. No one even has him in their top 5 interior defensive linemen, even though this guy is an absolute freak and a freight train. Another guy for you guys to come to the Discord to check out with us, because it's always fun to put on the tape. DeJuan Jones was the choice here for Washington. Can kick to inside, but definitely somebody who he has some very big highlight reel moments. I just cannot justify taking him here in the second. Jahmyr Gibbs was too good to pass on, even though I don't think the Dolphins really need to go after running back early. They're in a system that is very good at maximizing the value. So I don't think that you need to necessarily spend your first pick on a running back when there's bigger issues on the table. Zay Flowers was amazing value here for the Giants. I think that if you just went Kayshon Boutte in the first or Cam Smith and then Zay Flowers, that would have been great. Like Keishon Butte, not then Zay Flowers, but Keishon Butte and maybe some other position. I can't think of it right now who was on the board. But, if you went Cam Smith and Zay Flowers, I think that'd be perfect. That would be like a great way to fall. But of course, you stole him right here from the Chargers. Siaki Ika, I can't stand this guy. Come to the Discord as well. I know we got a lot of Siaki truthers out there, including some of my friends who own their own YouTube channels. But just come watch him for yourself. I'm not afraid of being proven wrong, but I'm here to show you all the information I can, and I can't do it here on YouTube. So that's why I continue pressing that Discord. Cedric Tillman pairing him up with Velus Jones. I think getting a true X-level receiver next to Chase Claypool, never a bad thing. And, Hendon Hooker, not as good of a quarterback as Justin Fields, so could even see a larger production out of Cedric Tillman. I like it. Luke Musgrave for the Cowboys continue to get more powerful. So you know what? Never a bad thing. I heard that after they realized Tyreek Stevenson was on the board, they'd rather go that route, and I totally agree. But I'm never going to shame someone for taking Luke Musgrave, an amazing, super high ceiling tight end. I think my comp for him is probably going to be this year's Evan Ingram. Darnell Washington getting another tackle, pretty much, for the Bengals. I wish they got a tackle in the first round, then we could say they got two of them. But Darnell is just a freak. I think he might go day one. He's built different, man. He really is. Corner, I think, was a position I would like to target for the Panthers. I know enough of you Panthers fans are telling me that, and you guys know that team much better than I do. Now, I think that you guys are honestly not that desperate for a corner, but I do love the idea. And Tyreek Stevenson is a great player. I have a first-round grade on him. I think this is an absolute steal. Jack Campbell for the Lions, I think, is great. I didn't like Noah Sewell when I rewatched him, but Jack Campbell is linebacker 4. I think it's perfectly fine. I really like his addition to this team. He's going to be a great leader of that defense. Clark Phillips, just BPA. He should be going way earlier, but it is what it is. I love Clark Phillips. I think this is a great fit as well. Pick number 62, Brandon Joseph. Super high ceiling player, just has fallen off a cliff over the past 2 years, and that's just because he's trying to play a role that he should not be playing. And if anybody's going to get it right, it's probably going to be the Bills in that secondary, so not a bad move. And then ending it off, because this pick was just a gimmick, Gervin Dexter, who I'm not a fan of him at all, actually. I rewatched him. He used to be my number 14 player. Just there's something off about him. I don't know what it is. You don't think he's trying very hard. And I don't know if that just means he's trying to save up for the NFL or something, but he's definitely crippling his draft stock when you watch him play. It's like, why are you doing nothing? It's so weird because he has so much potential. But, it is what it is, man. I think that D-line is certainly something the Eagles could be trying to nab. But, it is what it is. Gervin Dexter, just not totally worth it for me. But that's the draft. Again, I had no influence on this. This is all up to you guys. So if you guys didn't like it, feel free to come join the Discord and fix it for next time. Would love to see you guys there. Thank you guys so much for supporting as always. And for those of you who did draft, even if I tear apart your picks, I still love the fact that you spent the time and energy to be able to be prepared for this and spend it with me. So see you guys on the far side. Peace.